Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I have two more poems for you today by one of my favorite authors, Shel Silverstein. These two are from another one of his collections of books. This one is called A Light in the Attic. And just like Where the Sidewalk Ends, it can be found in our school library. If you go to a public library, all poetry books are under number 811 in the nonfiction section, or he is a very famous children's poet, so you could probably find him in the children's library as well, or all of his books are available at any bookstore or on Amazon. So I have two more poems for you from this book today, A Light in the Attic, that also use alliteration with the character names. So silly character names that have more than one part to their name, because names aren't just one word, right? You have a first name and a last name and maybe a middle name. Some people have even more than one middle name. So Shel Silverstein adds to his characters by giving them names that use alliteration that are fun to say and add to the story that the poem is. So my first one out of this book is called Cloony the Clown. And here, remember, Shel Silverstein also illustrates his books. There is Cloony. I lost the page. There is Cloony the Clown. Cloony the Clown. I'll tell you the story of Cloony the Clown, who worked in a circus that came through the town. His shoes were too big and his hat was too small, but he just wasn't funny at all. He had a trombone to play loud, silly tunes. He had a green dog and 1,000 balloons. He was floppy and sloppy and skinny and tall, but he just wasn't funny at all. And every time that he did a trick, everyone felt a little bit sick. And every time he told a joke, folks sighed as if their hearts were broke. And every time he lost a shoe, everyone looked awfully blue. And every time he stood on his head, everyone screamed, "Go back to bed!" And every time he made a leap, everybody fell asleep. And every time he ate his tie, everyone began to cry. And Clooney could not make any money simply because he was not funny. He looks kind of silly. One day he said, "I'll tell this clown how it feels to be an unfunny clown." And he told them all why he looked so sad, and he told them all why he felt so bad. He told of pain and rain and cold. He told of darkness in his soul. And after he finished his tale of woe, did everyone cry? Oh, no, no, no. They laughed until they shook the trees with ha-ha-has and hee-hee-hees. They laughed with howls and yows and shrieks. They laughed all day. They laughed all week. They laughed until they had a fit. They laughed until their jackets split. Their laughter spread for miles around to every city and every town. Over mountains crossed the sea from St. Tropez to Mont-Cenis. And soon the whole world rang with laughter, lasting till forever after, while Clooney sat in the circus tent with his head drooped low and his shoulders bent. And he said, "That is not what I meant. I'm funny just by accident." And while the whole world laughed outside, Clooney the Clown sat down and cried. I have one more story for you, or poem for you. Remember, poems are kind of like mini stories, though. And a lot of times they tell a little mini story about a character. And this one, his alliteration sound is a T. His name is Ticklish Tom. And there is Ticklish Tom. Did you hear about Ticklish Tom? He got tickled by his mom, wiggled and giggled and fell on the floor, laughed and rolled right out the door, all the way to school, and then he got tickled by his friends, laughed till he fell off his stool, laughed and rolled right out of school, down the stairs and finally stopped till he got tickled by a cop. And all the more that he kept giggling, the more the folks kept on tickling. He shrieked and screamed and rolled around, laughed his way right out of town. Through the country down the road, he got tickled by a toad. Past the mountains, across the plain, tickled by the falling rain, tickled by the soft brown grass, tickled by the clouds that passed. Giggling, rolling on his back, he rode on the railroad track. Rumble, rumble, whistle, roar. Tom ain't ticklish anymore. And so do not roll near the railroad tracks, right? So those are alliteration poems. They use the character's name to use the alliteration. So your first thing that you could choose to do for me this week is give yourself a name that would use alliteration, something that gives you a first, a middle, and a last name that all start with the same sound. And one that describes you a little bit would be great. Like he was Ticklish Tom, right? Because he was Tom and he was very, very ticklish. Dan was Dirty Dan because he refused to take a bath. That's crazy, right? So both words started with the duh and they described him. So your first choice this week is you could give yourself a name for National Name Yourself Day that uses alliteration. I miss you all. I hope you're still staying safe and healthy, and I can't wait to see you soon. Bye.